Hi. In this video, I would like to talk about how to be believed or how to be seen when you're in a situation where you don't know whether you're paranoid or not, or whether you're deluding or not, or when you're in a situation where other people question your reality or question your world. And this can go from small cases to court cases to medical cases. And the big secret is asking yourself whether the thing you consider a reality makes you feel calmer. See, that uncertainty is terror for most people. The only time uncertainty is good is in science, but most of the time uncertainty is terror, is terrorizing. Think about a simple situation. A wife does not know whether her husband is cheating on her or not. She tries to take a look at every sign and take a look at every move he makes, or take a look at her feelings, or take a look at things that she may have done, and go through with all these stories in her head. But the uncertainty of whether he did that or not is more terrorizing than actually knowing the truth. When you know the truth, you can be broken, you can deal with it, you can heal. But you don't know, when you don't know the truth, you cannot go through a healing process yet if you don't know that maybe there is, what is the problem, what do you need to heal from, or maybe you don't need to heal. Or maybe the very fact that you're thinking about it is the problem. And that comes from somewhere, or trauma or something. So what I would say to this woman is, think about, instead of asking yourself, is he cheating on me? Ask yourself, let's say he's cheating on me. How does that make me feel? You'll notice that if he does, it will make you feel broken, frustrated, exhausted, hurt, maybe ashamed, but calmer than if he's not. You may be feeling relieved if he's not, or thinking that you maybe are relieved, but relief is not what you're looking for in this case. Most of the time we're looking for relief. In this case, we're not looking for relief, because oftentimes we would go for relief and think in all kinds of relieving thoughts for our anxieties. This is also what happens when we are under abuse. We justify the other person to get relief from our anxieties of what's going on, or for not facing the reality that is that we're being abused, or we're being in an unhealthy connection or situation. But if, for example, if you're being abused or if you're being cheated, you think about it and you feel all the horrible feelings, but within the horrible feelings, you feel calmer. You know that this is the reality, because the calm feeling comes from getting it. The calm feeling comes from your mind, or even your unconscious, understanding that all these thoughts, they are connected with this story, and this is an unconscious understanding. It's something that science tries to manipulate or tries to imitate in a way, but it's an unconscious understanding that everything just fits with this narrative. And then you go like, oh, okay, then that's what's going on. And after you've had this, oh, that's what's going on, and you're calm. You're not relieved, you're calm. It's a big difference. And then you can first make the process of what actually happens and go through the pain. And then you can also understand what made that paradigm, what made that assumption true to you. Like, what gave you the feeling, what gave you the intuition that you're being tricked or played or cheated or abused. Okay? then if you have to explain it to the world, you can simply say that. I was going through two options in my head. One option said, for example, if it's a cheating, that man's cheating on me. The other option said, oh, that man's not cheating on me, I'm paranoid. So on the one hand, the thought that I'm paranoid gave me some sort of a relief, because then I knew that I did not lose what I have with this man, or he's not cheating on me, or it's not step on my wounds. But unfortunately, it did not make me feel calm. It was a temporary relief, and then I was getting into anxiety again. On the other hand, when I was finally able to look at the story and say, well, I'm being cheated by this man or this woman or whatever, it made me feel horrible. But it also made me feel calm, because I realized that this is what's going on. And I knew that all these signs, each and every sign can be interpreted in many ways, but all these signs together sum up to a pattern. And I get that this is what happens. And you know what's more important is that I get out of this situation and move into clarity and not unbalance. Okay? This is what a healthy person would consider, oh, okay, she knows what she's talking about. She's not trying to convince me that she's right. She's not dependent on me believing her. She's telling her story. That's a big issue. And this is also what you do when you have to make sure that other people see you, or in other words, make sure that other people believe you if you're in the legal system or whatever. Do understand that people believe not your word, not the content of what you say, but your energy. If you really genuinely are calm, you can beat the manipulators, because your calm is genuine, while their calm is imitated and controlled. And people who are disconnected from themselves are not going to believe you. And if you happen to be in court or even with a medical team that are not so connected, or in the police, if they're not connected, then they're not connected, and you need to take that into account. But if they are healthy and connected to themselves, your energy will speak to them. And you know what? That's subconscious, because when you believe someone, you find a way to justify that belief. This is why it's so important for that belief to be based on something that is beyond reason, which is counterintuitive, because reason does not always make us feel calm. But understanding on a gut level that that's the story makes you feel calm. That's intuition. It's going to be very difficult for a lot of people. It's going to be very difficult for people who believe in evidence-based medicine, evidence-based legal system. And it's not that evidence-based systems are bad. They're very good. But in order to get the evidence, you need to understand what that evidence is. And I'm going to talk about narcissistic abuse, which is my expertise. Unlike cheating, it can be that your partner is cheating on you because whatever his issues are. In fact, it's more likely that he's cheating on you because of his issues than because of him trying to abuse or torture you. Chances are, right? That doesn't mean that this person is healthy. It just means that that's their issue, and they probably never meant for you to either know or find out, or something happened and they don't want you to know about it. This is unlike the narcissist who will use cheating for you to find out about it so that you can feel disturbed. So, and it can also happen with a non-narcissistic person, but it's a difference. from narcissistic abuse, which really is about torture, intended or not. Now, narcissistic abuse, the core of narcissistic abuse is you're being shaken, terrorized, and uncertain. And the way to heal from narcissistic abuse is to own your identity, own your emotions, own your standards, own your boundaries, and own your reality. That means you're having a narrative of what happens. Now, it's very difficult to have a narrative of what happens if the person communicates in indirect ways, gives you inconsistent affection, is being inconsistent in general, because this shakes your reality. And you cannot put the finger on the abuse unless, of course, he, let's say, God forbid, just grabbed you and raped you, or avoided all contact with the outside world, or put you in the box and jailed you, or took your money. Normally, this sort of abuse, not only that it happens on the very late stage of the relationship, but it may not even happen, because if he has control over you and he tortures you psychologically, he doesn't need to torture you physically or financially. It's not that he wants, like, he may have other people that he does that to. For example, another girl that you don't know may give him money for whatever reason he needs, because he seduces her in a way, and he plays her, so he doesn't need the money from you. You're the person that he keeps stable to show that he has a constant relationship, which is the worst position to be, by the way, with a narcissist. So he abuses you only to a certain extent, and then he abuses other people because you play a role in this life. And this is also what people who are higher on the level of antisocial, for example, sociopaths or psychopaths, do. I read testimonies of psychopaths who really talk about the way they hold one partner, treat them supposedly okay as far as they can. Narcissists are less able to pull the show, but if they're really smart, if they're sociopaths, then they can. And then they go to abuse other people. And basically, the partner may or may not feel, they will feel shaken, but they wouldn't know why. And of course, the narcissist blames it on you. So, and you think it makes a lot of sense because you want to justify it, especially if you sometimes act very kindly. So being uncertain, shaken, unbalanced, and mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and sometimes even spiritually, that's the damage. It's not, even if there was secondary violence, you will need to deal with the secondary violence, but the damage is the psychological violence. And that's important to understand when you raise your narrative, because your wound is not he slapped me or he hit me. And you hear a lot of people who were psychologically abused say, oh, I wish he would hit me so that I would know that this is abuse. But in fact, the narrative is, this person did and said all kinds of things that made me feel very shaken. And I noticed that I only feel that way around him. I don't feel this way around other people that I see. Oh, wait a minute, it doesn't let me see a lot of other people. I don't feel the clarity and the emotional stability that I feel alone around him. Actually, I feel more calm when I'm alone than when I'm around him, even though being alone is very lonely. Because I may miss him a lot, but I know that when I get with him, it's just horrible. Okay? All of that is the very initial narrative of the feelings. And notice how I concentrate on the experience. And then you can come with the assumption and say, well, what if this person, or what if this relationship is abusive? What is if this person is in fact a narcissist? And notice how that makes you feel. Do you feel more paranoid? Do you feel more stressed? Do you feel anxiety? Or do you just feel horrible, but calmer? Oh, so that's why these things happen. Go with that. Try this thing. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay. And they're like, oh gosh. But before you go to, oh gosh, you go to the, okay, that's what's going on. Now I get it. And it makes you feel a bit calmer. Oh, so he is abusive. That's why I feel this way. That's why I'm shaken. He's abusive. Then the difference between your being a narcissist or not is that the narcissist would think that everybody is being abusive because they just respond to him. But you will see that other people don't make you feel this way. He does. That's strange. And if it only happens with him or some of his friends, but people that are unrelated to him don't evoke these feelings around you, or not all people, try to go to a party or try to go to a cafe and see how you feel around people. Try to get out of yourself and see how you feel around people. You'll notice that there are some people who make you feel like you're a narcissist because they are narcissists, and some people that don't. So when you go back to your body and back to your experiences, you can tell what makes you feel calm and what doesn't. And after you say that, and this is what a lot of people who are exposed to knowledge about abuse feel, they can finally name that. Like they've gone through something that tore their reality down, but what gave the narcissist the power to tear your reality down, or the abuser the power to tear your reality down, is the psychological violence. And the core thing that gave him this ability was uncertainty. Because uncertainty drives us. It motivates us to research. In science, it's great. But certainty calms us down, and the narcissist cannot do anything with you when you're unshaken. You're not a supply when you're unshaken. If you don't have emotional reactions, you're not a supply. So you need to ask yourself whether this person, am I calm around this person? Do I have this inner calm? And you can be excited about people, but when it's real, you're calm. And then if you have to explain that to other people, they don't know what narcissistic abuse is. If you're going to try to talk about what he did or what he said, guess what is going to happen? Just the same as happened with you when you justified him. But if you're going to say something like, well, we were in this and that situation, he said that, his body language was funny, but I realized that if I take that interpretation, that would make me the insecure one, but if I don't, that would make me the one that doesn't get the clues. And this can happen, but I've noticed that with him it happens a lot. And I've noticed that I don't tend to interpret reality in this way with other people. Men or women. Men I have attraction to, or women. So that's something about him that is just funny. And the more I move away from him, I feel like I'm moving towards clarity. Sometimes I miss him a lot. Sometimes I wish things were better. But inside I know that clarity and health and stability is away from this person. It's tough. I'd really like for things to be in other ways. I've really tried. But that's just the way it goes. And it's better for me, it's better for him to keep no contact. Okay? What's more convincing than that? Why does it convince the other person because they feel your energy and they feel that you're not shaken. But if you're going to try and say, oh, he said this and that, he said that and that, he said that and that, and go, and people are going to say, well, this can be interpreted in many ways. Yes, it can. Of course it can. Because that's gaslighting. Gaslighting your reality is a part of gaslighting. One part is say, oh, this is not your reality, or I did not say this, I did not say that, you're dreaming, you're eluding, you're whatever, which can come from abuse amnesia if it's an antisocial person, or it can come from downright mind control if it's a malign narcissist. So either way, you don't want to focus on what he did or what he said, but on the way that he's not being clear and consistent and shakes you. And you understand that being shaken with the person is not healthy. That's all you need. And then you can go to, well, not being able to see that put me in a situation where I'm very shaken and I'm very fluted and I'm very triggered by all kinds of things that I don't quite identify because the abuse was so indirect. And this thing is going to make you feel calm. Once you are in your reality and you own your reality, the signs are going to come up and you see that more and more of your intuitions were actually very, very correct. And you see that you get things that other people may not get. It's a very good thing to say, I suspect this and that. I suspect he's a narcissist, or I suspect that he tried to XYZ because of all of these signs. And understanding that actually makes me feel calmer and not paranoid, because I know what's going on and I got myself out of this situation and I feel better. While if it was just a paranoia, then I guess I would feel anxious thinking about it, because it is frightening. But when it's actually the truth, and knowing that makes you feel better than not knowing that and living in a fantasy where it's wrong and you seek relief from this fantasy. This is something you really need to be honest about with yourself. What makes you feel calmer? And also, if you're the type of person who is prone to paranoia, I haven't had a lot of chance to speak with schizophrenic people. Like, I never had a psychotic whatever. Like, I never had a psychotic seizure. I never heard voices. But I can imagine that it might even work for people who do, because if the voice makes you feel calmer, then it has some message for you. If it just makes you feel anxious, then, it can wake you up to something, but I don't know. And if it's true to you, then you can also say, let's say if you're schizophrenic and you've been abused or tortured or has gone through violence, and you can simply tell either the doctors or another person, say, well, usually when I get these seizures, they shake me and make me feel less stable. Or if I think that I heard this and that, or I saw this and that, then I was certain at the time, but then I realized that it's not. But the certainty had a different feeling to it. But with this person or with that and that behavior, I realized that it's different from what happens when I have my other illusions and so and so. Because usually, having the illusion or having the paranoia that somebody is planning to do something to me is scary, and it gives an anxiety, and this is what happens, it gives me an anxiety. But for the first time, or for the only time in my life that I don't feel anxiety when I imagine that, I actually feel calmer when I think about this person doing that. And that makes me suspect that this thing is actually not paranoia. And you know what? These experiences can be healing from the experiences of paranoia, because discernment is what the narcissist teaches you. And that's the lesson. Gigi has a video about narcissism, and she says, nothing teaches you discernment like narcissistic abuse. So I am very suspicious that even people who do have psychotic seizures, even people who have schizophrenia and other such ailments, will experience that sense of calm and relief when they get it, that that was abuse and that was not the voices or the whatever. And I think it's a good question for either doctors or police officers or lawyers watching this, and check with the person, how does that make them feel? If the assumption is true, do they feel calmer? And look at their reactions. Do they actually feel calmer? Do they actually go? And it would be very interesting to see a very fluid post-traumatic person goes, oh, that's what happened. While if the other person is not in this calm state, you'll notice that when you're trained to do that, to notice people that when they are shaken and so on and so forth. So that's how you get yourself to be believed. You need to believe yourself, and when you believe yourself, the people who are connected to themselves will believe you. The people who are not will still not believe you, but you will not be shaken by that. You'll just consider whether you want to take legal steps or not, because you can tell about my case of narcissistic abuse. I didn't want to take legal steps because the narcissist was very surrounded with people who had good titles, good titles, feminist titles, experts on sexual violence titles, very good, law students titles, very good titles, but they were not so connected. And I realized that having these people with these titles in a police situation or a court situation, it will really, it's not that I cannot convince, but if the judges are disconnected, it's going to be a mission. If the judges are connected, it's going to grab it at ease, because narcissists tend to crumble when you're not shaken. But if that's not the case, then yeah. And I didn't want to file a complaint like in the institution, because first the problem was the psychological violence. It's not that there were not other things to file a complaint for, but the problem was the psychological violence. And I didn't know how to deliver this message. And also it was more important for me to solve a problem than to get this or that person out of it. Because the narcissist is one person, then there is a whole society of disconnected people around them that do not have this discernment. And they're the problem, because they create the isolation. They're his tools. So, but still, nothing teaches discernment like narcissistic abuse. And I've learned so much about trusting myself and being connected to my emotions. And I'd really like to deliver this knowledge to you. If you're feeling calmer about something, horrible as it may be, that's your reality. Own it. And you will be on the path to healing. And express it. This is how you express it. When you own it and you're calm, you can finally learn how to speak again, because we lose this ability under psychological abuse.